Hey guys, welcome to episode 93 of CMD Towers, Brews, and Builds. I'm MrCombo number 5, and my fellow host has been seeing a Johnny the Wise counselor to assist with his inner NASCAR fandom, Big Tuck.
So you yell at me about dunking on about everything that's happening in Joplin, but this NASCAR thing doesn't die. And I'll have you know that this young lady I'm going on a date with on Wednesday has been to the museum not once, not twice, but thrice times. So there you have it.
Is that where your guys' first date's taking place?
No, but I'm for sure. I think I just scared her off with some like deep cut podcast stuff. Okay, so first off, hello, soldiers and kitty cats. Should be pretty straightforward there. So quick updates here, because I have a lot to get into about you. Number one, I do have my first scheduled date in the last year on Wednesday, potentially. So I'm looking forward to that. She is a NASCAR fan and moved here from Iowa, so I can't escape the Midwest no matter how hard I try. I also did finally meet my hot next door neighbor. Her name is Jess. And I also did one of these rigmaroles where I was like, hey, I'm sorry I have a loud voice. If it's ever too loud, just like give me a knock or whatever. And she was like, well, what do you do? And I was like, well, nothing really, but I also do a podcast on Thursdays. So like, that's probably why. And she's like, oh, that makes sense. And I said, so you heard me? And she's like, well, not really. I was leaving to go out. I could hear you from the elevator. So pretty much if these walls are good, but if she's outside of her door or I'm outside of mine, like as soon as you get past the door, she heard me. So anyway, she's going to her job. And she's going to the elevator and she said, you have a voice. I was like, yes, I know. It sounds like the devil on a megaphone. But she was like, I heard you talking to yourself for probably 10 minutes while I was waiting for the elevator. And I was very confused. I was like, well, I do this podcast. She's like any attractive girl ever says, oh, really? That's cool. What do you do a podcast? And my immediate response is, it is not cool. And we need to end this conversation right now before I embarrass myself and you get scared. So that's my big update. Living life out here in CLT. MrCombo, I might have been in the tank when you talked about us last week, but you finally decided to go to a practiced man and you've joined our friend Lowry and you have the gout. How do you feel?
Don't feel great. It's never good when it gets confirmed because once it's confirmed, you can't deny it. Before it, you can deny it all day long.
Right.
It's like aliens. I don't believe aliens are here. And then once they show up at your front door, it's like, well, son of a bitch, aliens exist.
Yeah, you got me.
So yeah, sorry if this is on repeat, guys. You could fast forward into 1 minute 13 seconds into the future. Don't know if that's accurate, but let's go. So it would have been by the time this episode comes out, 2 or 3 Sundays ago, got done with 40 Life at a Dash IRL, was hanging out with the fiance, wanted to go to bed at a decent time and not stay up to the crack of dawn. So went ahead and took some of my sleeping meds. I take this stuff called Sleepnia. If you guys have trouble sleeping, go get it. It's at Walgreens. It's like $30 for the bottle. It lasts you a month. It's $1 a day.
Sure.
And the stuff will just push you out.
Really?
So in saying all of that, oh yeah, it's amazing. 11:45 p.m. Remember this vividly. I wake up. My foot is throbbing so much I cannot sleep. So I toss and tumble, finally get out of bed, go take some ibuprofen, sit on the couch, keep the foot elevated, throw some ice on there. It got so bad that at about 3 a.m., the pain was making me nauseous and I was about to throw up.
Oh my God.
So I actually got up, went to my work office, sent a work email at 3:30 in the morning. Not going to be in this morning. Yeah. Cancel my calls.
Can't make it.
And so I went to the urgent care clinic, got there about 8:30, 9 o'clock. I didn't leave until 1 or 1:30 in the afternoon. I waited that long. But they ran some blood work, and he was like, yeah, I think it's gout, so I'm going to prescribe you some stuff. It should help out, and I'll give you results in a day. Results came back. It was gout. It has to do with my uric acid level was an 8, which he says, typically healthy men are around a 4. And so basically what I have to do is, Lowry and Adam over at the Commander Smiths, they went the limited drinking or no drinking route. They may have done some lifestyle choices as well. I went the lifestyle choices route instead of the no drinking route.
So I can still drink.
Yeah. And so basically I just have to have red meat incredibly sparingly. Moderate eats of chicken and some fish. Basically, what I've kind of seen is you have to cut out like more your fatty foods. even if it's healthy fat, 'cause peanut butter is not even that like great for you. And so it's a lot of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, light chicken, and I have to drink 2 cups of coffee a day, apparently.
I remember you sending that out. So the fatty thing, side note, I've been watching Alone. Have you heard of the show?
I've seen Home Alone.
Okay, it's like that, but instead of in a nice suburban house in the suburbs, they are in like the Arctic, and they only have 10 items to survive with. So I'll make this quick. In one episode, a guy caught a moose. He like shot it and killed it, right? So he had hundreds of pounds of meat, but he still starved himself to death because he wasn't getting enough fat. So as soon as he figured out how to catch fish, which would be less healthy and less calorie dense than the moose, it like solved it for him, because fish, like you said, are healthier, but they have like more fat content to them, right?
Interesting. So wait, is this a reality show or fake?
It's reality. It's insane. I highly recommend it to anyone.
Actually died?
No, he didn't. No, he didn't die. They have crews that come pull them out. So, like, for example, in this,
I was like,
there's
dude,
10
I don't
people.
know what kind of Russian TV you're watching, but good God.
No. So there's like, they have medical checks. So, like, for example, in this one, 3 of the last 5 people that survived all got boosted out because they lost too much body fat, and they're like, your heart is going to collapse if you stay out here any longer. It's like a medical risk. But anyways, the point being is that, like, even though he was eating meat, he wasn't getting fat content, which makes sense as to why they say, like, even things like you say are healthy, like fish and whatnot, are unlimited, right?
Yep. Yeah. So, that's been the change. I thought it was going to suck. Honestly, the hardest thing has been snacking. You can't really snack when you're on this diet. But, I've found this breakfast meal, and I'll explain it real quick, and we'll kind of go throughout the episode. Basically, I rice, carrots, and broccoli.
Okay.
And I take a skillet, do a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of red onions, chopped serrano peppers and garlic, saute it for a minute till it's fragrant. And then you take a half a cup, 3/4 cup of cooked chicken sausage, toss it in, stir it up, get it heated about a minute and a half. Then you take an egg, crack an egg in, scramble it up with all the things, minute and a half. And then you take a cup and a half of the rice veggie mixture, throw it in, stir it around, get it, heat it up, cooked through is how you like. And then you actually take this sweet soy sauce, take just a little bit of it, mix it up, and it becomes like this fried rice mixture for breakfast.
Oh, sure.
Put it in a pot, and then you actually just do one last cracked fried egg, sunny side up, slide it on, and it's incredibly filling.
It sounds really good.
Tastes good. And so, I've been very shocked. A lot of the recipes are very yummy. It's just more when you go out,
it's just,
you have to eat significantly less. Like I went to a jazz place last night with a good friend from high school. And I got the, blackened chicken pasta, which is just everything I'm not supposed to have, but eat half the portion instead of the full portion. And it's like you're still doing it in moderation. So I'm not going to tell myself I can't do anything. It's just, I can't have a burger 3 days in a row.
Right.
I get a burger once, and then I got to wait a week till I can do my next thing.
And I know you don't like coffee. So how has that transition been? Because I drink coffee like water.
Oh my God, it's absolutely terrible. I got a Keurig, it's right by my desk, and the best I could do is I found flavored coffees off Amazon, and so I'm doing that with like a little bit of milk. But I just learned that I brew it, I let it sit for about 5 to 10 minutes till it gets warm, and then I just chug it.
So if you want the life hack, and I recommend this to anyone, my mother, in her infinite wisdom, got me a bunch of shit right before I moved. So great. Thank you, Mom. But one thing she got me was this thing to make like cold brew coffee. It's this big container that you put the grounds into in water and then seal it. And it's cold and it's more potent. So you would only need like a glass. And the thing I think you would like about it too is like you don't have to wait for it to cool. It's just already cold. So you can just like pour your glass, put your almond milk in, and then just down the hatches, right? So anyways, something to look into. This is not Coffee Cast, although that was one of MrCombo's original ideas. Ironically, we went with beer, which he also doesn't like, and also his idea was coffee, which he also doesn't like. Let's keep going.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning into the episode. And as always, with this Manolith commentary is Squee McGee from Rich Chaos Record Studio. Well, I guess he's still recovering from having the Weatherlight Chopper 5 blown up earlier this week by the Cliptolith Right Army.
Thank you.
Thank you. So if you guys want to know more ways to support CMD Tower, possibly buy Squee a new transportation vehicle, and all the content we put out, head over to level1gameshop.com. They're the ones that provide the monthly giveaways for you guys. They sell everything you need from a tabletop gaming perspective. Be sure to go show them some love, because we all know you guys are doing orders, and it lets them know to continue to invest into these monthly giveaways. But if you would actually like to help put dollars in our pockets, and actually the next project is to get Tuck's audio equipment fully upgraded, head over to our Patreon, patreon.com/CMD Tower. We have 4 different pledge levels, and guys, we have just been adding in benefits over the last like 60 days. So if you're not a patron, you're missing out. Like, one of them is on the $5 and up tiers. You'll be getting free RK Post exclusive Patreon tokens every 3 months, and they'll be done at random. Could be black and white. It could be the kind of colored. It could be full colored. Could be the big ones, the small ones. It just kind of depends. I could tell you the first batch that we'll be doing will be coming out in 2 months, because we've only been doing it for a month, and we're going to do it every 3 months. You'll be getting at minimum a Jack Skellington zombie token, and this cool shark looking thing. It looks like it's maybe from Pokemon, for the shark token off the Sharknado enchantment. And then I just saw today it's going to be an exclusive RK Post art of this knight that's going to be done. So very, very cool stuff. Also, on top of that, you get entered in for deck therapy, whether you're on the $1 one all the way up to the 25. And if you're a part of any of our things, as you guys know, Tuck and I, when we do solo episodes, we do voiceover work for the characters. So we'll be randomly selecting one of you guys each week for Brews and Builds to be able to help us with the voices. And today, patron Lavender helped us out with the one voice we didn't already have a voice for. So thank you, Lavender. I cannot wait to do a Southern Belle.
Ooh.
And of course, if you guys can't help us out from a monthly perspective, but would like to still pick up the swag, head over to cmdtower.com/merch. We do sell everything on there. Please get it out of my basement. Gag won't end. Y'all can't stop me. And of course, the free way is just share the content you're watching or listening to, whether that be on YouTube or your podcast platform, because every little bit of interaction from the collective does help. And every episode, Pink Royal, we really appreciate what you guys did for us forever ago. I wonder when the rights will expire.
I think the band members have expired themselves, so we might actually be past that. Yes, I might be. Oh my god, a redacted bit, quotes, if you will.
There we go. And then, of course, T-Coats. He's our awesome video editor at _T-Coats on Twitter. Be sure to subscribe to YouTube. Apparently, people love our YouTube videos. It's just they're hard to find because people just don't know about them. So go out there, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We actually had just had someone comment a couple weeks ago that it was a crime that our channel only had 151 subs. I don't know what that means. That seems like a lot of people to me.
It also might be a crime that we didn't get nominated this year. Your days... You will incur my wrath.
And hey guys, this is a new month, which means a new giveaway from level 1, but you have to stay till the end to find out what it was. So Brews and Builds is our deck tech series. Since we conquered the path of 32, we have moved on to the endless themes that EDH can bring us, and each month will be a new theme. We correlate how these decks are constructed, similar to how beer is brewed. So we broke it down into 4 different categories. The first one is rampant, setting your board state. That's Gwaine.
And Gwaine are the foundations of every beer. They include both base malts and specialty malts, usually in a 60-40 ratio. This helps with the color, the taste, and most importantly, the alcohol content of the beer, including this 9% Voodoo Ranger Imperial IPA I'm currently drinking. Heavy on the grain profile there, ladies and germs. Decks always need ways to grow, stabilize, and ramp your bigger threats, and just like a grain profile, they're usually a mix of staples and specialty cards.
And I don't know if the collective picked up on it. I did get Tuck to say Gwaine instead of Grain the first go around.
I listen, MrCombo. I'm here. I'm trying to facilitate this bit.
How does the board interact with everyone else? We call that hops.
Hops give the beer its patented bitterness and herbal floral flavors. They grow in variety of strains, help to distinguish categories like this Imperial IPA. My mouth is day. Our hop choices help clear and track the parts of your deck and do it what?
And then the next is, how does your deck actually close out or win games? Which this deck... it's all right. We call that yeast.
We're just... Oh boy. Yeast are microorganisms that eat the sugar from the grain, poop out alcohol and CO2. It adds the alcohol content in carbonation. Without yeast, you'd be drinking flat sugar water. And without yeast cards, your deck wouldn't meet the goal of actually winning the game.
And then we have shenanigans. This could be pet card synergies. Maybe that one card that could be the deck that are just kind of fun. We call that spice.
I'm going to be so upset. Like, it's such low-hanging fruit. Not every beer has them, but spices and other additives help separate a normal stock beer from a specialty one. It could be the stout that it could be the pepper that turns the stout into jalapeno stout, or the addition of extra hops that turn this into an imperial IPA from New Belgium. Not every deck has something that makes it pop, but if this does, this is where we generally talk about it.
And then to cap it off, yes, it's back. It's the bottle capping. And Big Tex and I's cuts and adds to the deck that'll be under $5, under $50, and a no budget recommendation. We just can't talk about mana only lands, which this deck could use. So without further ado, let's get brewing. This is
a brand new month.
New month, new theme. And guys, you may be asking, what theme are we doing? Well, it's literally one of the most important. Not important. It kind of is important, but one of the most popular themes in all of Commander. And I will pause and give you some Jeopardy music to think about it. All right, we're done.
Wait, I got one. All right. What is...
Big Tuck.
Thank you. What is lasagna tier?
I was actually hoping you were going to go with like some Sean Connery Celebrity Jeopardy bit. That would have been perfect.
What is
the penis mightier? I'll take 10 of them.
Yeah, or what's hold on.
The pin is mightier.
There's got to be a magic one in there somewhere. I'll come to me. That'll be the end of the episode. What is our new theme this month, MrCombo?
We're talking tokens. I mean, even if you don't feel like you have a token deck, you have it.
You kind of do, yeah.
They're absolutely everywhere. And so just like budget month, which was a little odd for me to kick off, I'm kicking off this month, which is odd because I do not consider myself a token player at all. I am just a anal retentive token player because I need to have the exact tokens that are supposed to be there on the battlefield. None of this, well, they're both 3/3, so just go with it. No, names matter.
Or if you will, the logical way of doing it with the infinite tokens, but that's a sort of...
You can't... Your handwriting's terrible.
That's true. Okay. I meant to talk to you about this. I understand that, right? But when I draw a $ on a token, it probably means it's a treasure. I'm just saying. There's ways that you can make it happen. Is my handwriting terrible? Yes.
Gold. Could be gold. Could be treasure. They both do different things. I'm just saying.
I'm gonna scream.
So the deck we're talking about today is Sakashima and Prava's token family. It's just the Brady Bunch over here. And yes, like I said, this is mine. And you guys might have heard about this on MTG Action 4 News probably a month and a half ago when we talked about Big Tuck's going away party. Because yes, guys, this is what Ultra Budget Brews calls...
Binder bullshit.
So yes, we're talking binder bullshit. The funny thing about this, Tuck, was trying to get some data, get some stats on it. Guess how many decks EDH Rec has with Prava and Sakashima of 1,000 Faces partnered together?
I'm gonna stop you right there, and we're gonna set a time bomb right now, okay? So we're gonna set a time bomb until we get to the bottle capping, okay? So put this down. Okay. I already have it on my notes. Okay. This is going to be discussed. This is going to be discussed again when we get to the bottle capping. So I will happily read one of them if you want to read the other.
Okay. So you're saying you want to keep how many total decks are made a secret until the end?
Yes. So this is, yes, exactly. This is going to be, we're setting a timer right now for our listeners, right? Where it's like, it's going to keep ticking, right? From Watchmen or, I don't know, some like Bob Dylan song until we get to the end of the episode. So, one of your partner commanders is Prava of the Steel Legion. 2 colors and a white for 1/4. Decent stats, I suppose. Legendary creature, a baby cat, soldier. As long as it's your turn, creature tokens you control get +1/+4. And then 3 colors and a white create a 1/1 soldier creature token. The foil is 11 cents. But you do have a big old bomb for your other commander.
Yeah, so this is Sakashima of 1,000 Faces, 3 colorless blue, legendary creature, human rogue mythic, 3/1 from Commander Legends. And it states you may have Sakashima of 1,000 Faces, ETB as a copy of another creature you control, except it is Sakashima of 1,000 Faces. except it has Sakashima of 1,000 Faces' other abilities. It also has the legend rule doesn't apply to permanents you control, meaning that you can have multiple legendary permanents that are identical and you do not have to sacrifice them. And it also has partner coming in at a cool $27.
And
non-foil.
My new friend up here, Chris, in 2 packs ripped this and Hole Breacher from Commander Legends. Yeah. So
Well, that's all his money back.
But you, I mean,
How about this? How about I talk about why I built this deck, and then you can have your mini seizure. So basically, I was cleaning up the house. You know, we hadn't played in real life in a very long time. So I went from just me streaming with either you guys in the Quarantine Battlegrounds or on Mr. Bever's or MTG Lexicon's channel to having like 12 to 20 people at my place of residence wanting to play Magic. So I was sorting a bunch of cards, and I was like, you know what? You know how you sort less cards? You build the deck out of all the stuff that you have laying around. So I actually forgot that I ripped Sakashima. I was going through all my legends, trying to fit them into my legend binder. And I was like, oh, Sakashima, partner. It could be partner with anything. Well, let me find another partner commander, and I'll just build the deck with Sakashima and that. And so I went through a bunch of them, and honestly, a bunch of them were super boring. And it's like I could have gone with like the OG partners, but even that didn't really seem that kind of fun. And then I saw Prava, and I was like, okay, this commander's not good at all. But wouldn't it be cool if all my tokens got +2, +8? Yes, it would, and that's why we decided to build Azorius tokens. And that's it.
I also, just for frame of reference, we already talked about Azorius tokens on this here podcast with my Temet deck. So I was really
and this one's just infinitely better.
I agree, right? Like, it's got a lot more juice to it. And I have a lot to say about this, but I have to wait. So I have not seen this deck in person, which is upsetting, but let's go through the formalities. Your curve for a deck that you put together, I would assume blind, is actually pretty good, right? Like you're kind of there.
I do have a point on that, though. Did you notice how my lands are done?
How they're all separated by the foil of what they are?
No.
Oh.
That I show 27 lands, but in reality...
You have 31.
But in reality, I actually have 35.
Yes. Okay. We'll get into that. We'll get into that and mad respect, MrCombo, on that. Yes.
So when you actually take those 4 or 5 cards and count them as the lands that they are, the curve is actually, I think, 3-5 or 3-4. So it's actually not that bad from a 3-8 to that. Because we talked about it during budget month, this deck is not budget because it has 46 mythic rares and rares. Mana distribution, I did pretty good, and I didn't count.
Yeah.
I just kind of put it together based on feelings. I'm only off on white pips by a little bit. And what's this deck coming in at price-wise?
500-ish.
Yeah, all right.
But I would say there's at least $200 of cards that don't necessarily need to be in here.
That's fair. All right. Well, I think that's it. I mean, from a stats perspective, should we just get into this bad boy? Oh, hold on. When you guys are on Tapped Out, clearly the best deck building website ever, you guys will have to go to the bottom right corner and look at the tokens. Even though Tapped Out misses a lot of tokens, there's a billion that this deck makes. So this deck individually, from what Tapped Out can find, makes 27 distinct tokens. Woo, that's quite a few tokens.
I think the other thing to look at is you have not categorized any of your decks into folders, which makes me question your sanity, because that's the only way I can find them.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't use folders at all. I didn't even know there were folders.
Oh boy, we got to keep going. There's too much to talk about. We got to keep going.
All right, let's start off with the Rampant Grain section, and I'll kick this off being my deck. It's a card that I got in super bulk in Zendikar Rising everywhere. And the funny thing is I got tons of the alternate copies that I think were the collector booster ones. It features some kitty cats. It makes some kitty cats. But Azorius isn't the best at landfall. But I think Felidar Retreat is still a good fit in the deck.
Agreed.
So 3 colorless white, enchantment rare, and this is the alternate art copy for $1.50, breaking the bank.
And there are some little baby cats.
Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, choose 1. Create a 2/2 white cat beast creature token, which is what you're probably going to do 9 times out of 10. But there is another one that isn't bad. Put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. These creatures gain vigilance until end of turn. I mean, just for playing the game and either making tokens that I want, and that would essentially be, what, a 3/6, or giving all my stuff vigilance, swing in, and then have them for blockers, it's not bad. 4 mana is a little costly for this effect, considering I could play it, play a land, get my 2/2 cat, and then someone blows it up. But I think it's not as threatening as like a doubling season would be in a token deck, so I think it might fly under the radar.
I agree, and I think that's why, like, for a token deck, you don't have a lot of token producers in this deck.
What do you mean? I can make 27 different tokens. That means I have 27 token producers.
I counted them up as well, but like they're all like kind of, some are a little sweaty, some are a little slimy. But I think I agree with you that this is a great card in here because it does that double duty, right? Like, here's the worst case scenario, right? Like, you play this turn 4, next turn you play a land, you get a 2/2, and then it gets removed, right? So I think if you played a card where it said 4 mana, create a 2/2, and then this card gets removed from the game and eats up a removal, it's probably not terrible. But I think the upside, I think the upside of this card is really good, like you said, where it's like, you generate your tokens, and then eventually this turns into Smash Face. So I think Felidar Retreat is actually a phenomenal card. And for the money, I thought this card's gonna be $5. And for the cash that goes into it, piles of value, even if you only have 32 lands in the deck, which we will, I guess, never talk about.
I have 35 lands.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, that's right. And then the last thing I'll say, guys, because, obviously the way that we do deck building at Brews and Builds and CMD Tower, it's a little bit different than everyone else. So, cards can some days be a grain in one deck and a hops in another. This deck, my consistent token producers, other than big flashy finishers, I consider a grain. Because this deck, you really, in the early game, it's hard to ramp in these colors to begin with. So it's like, I need to get as many little tokens as I can, because ideally I'd love to cast Prava and Sakashima on the same turn. And then I'm swinging in and they're all getting a +2 power buff, but then the +8 butt, so they probably aren't going to die. So that is a big reason why Felidar Retreat's here and not maybe in the hop section like some people would think. Agreed. Big Tuck, what is your first grain card?
I'm about to cackle about this one, you bish. And we talked about this in Tenant, I think. So I'm assuming I'm clear on this.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Cackling Counterpart, I think, is a mainstay in any token deck or any deck that cares about tokens. Colorless and blue for an instant, which I think is critical as why this card is so good. Put a token on the battlefield that's a copy of a target creature you control. Then it's flashback for 5 colorless and 2 blue. You may cast this card from your graveyard for its flashback card, then exile it. So there's kind of like 2 ways you want to look at token decks, right? Like, one is I'm creating mass tokens. 2, well, there's 3. 2, I'm creating tokens of your best stuff. And 3, I'm creating tokens of like individual big things, right? And to me, I think Cackling Counterpart kind of fits every single one of those, right? Worst case scenario, if you need a blocker, this is a 2/2 cat from Felidar Sovereign, right? Best case scenario, this is your best creature that you have on the board, because there's not a lot of legendary creatures on here, and even when you have your commander out, it doesn't even matter, right? So, I mean, actually, best case scenario, this is the 3rd copy of Prava.
2nd copy.
Well,
3rd copy of Prava.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly, right? Like, how bonkers is that? So I think the reason why this is so good is because it is at that instant speed. And you're playing this deck to where you're copying your own tokens, right? So let it run, and you get to do it twice. Not a whole lot to argue about here.
Yeah, I think the only thing I wish it did, and if it did, you'd probably have to add on 2 mana, is I wish it just put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of a creature.
Yeah, for sure.
Because, I mean, how great would it be to make a copy of Reese? Yeah, I did it. So he's not here.
He's not here, but somebody has to. I agree. I agree with that. But like, if you're looking at how it's quote unquote fair costed, pretty good for whatever you have, right?
Yeah, I mean, it is one that I was considering as I was doing my sorting to cut, to be honest, because it was like 3 mana because I really don't have that many like sexy creatures. Yeah, I mean, there's like a couple that are neat. Like there's one in the hop section that begins with an E. That would be real gross making multiple copies of, if I do say so myself. But, you know, I think Cackling Counterpart, fine card, worth trying, but I think it's probably one of those that's probably on the cutting block after 10, 15 plays, because if you just never have anything worth doing, it's like, okay, do I want to have this in here to make another Sakashima, or do I just want to swap it for XYZ?
I thought you were going to say it's on the cutting block after 10 or 15 other cuts in the deck. I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, I'm there.
All right. Well, the next card, it's a modal card, but I have it in here because it makes a token and it draws me a card. Or I guess I should say it loots. Kasmina, Enigmatic Mentor. I think is a very underrated card for a token deck. So 3 colors.
Couldn't agree more.
Legendary Planeswalker Kasmina. It's an uncommon from War of the Spark, coming at a cool double dimes. Comes in with 5 loyalty. It has an activated ability of -2 loyalty. So on card, you can activate it twice. Create a 2/2 blue wizard creature token. Draw a card, then discard a card. That's the reason I have it in the grain section, because it's making me a token and I'm going through my deck. And that's more important than the static effect, but the static effect should not be overlooked. Spells your opponents cast that target a creature or planeswalker you control cost 2 more to cast. So it's basically giving you Ward 2 on all of your stuff. But the -2 is really why this is here, because I will pay 4 mana to make me a 2/2 token and draw a card and discard a card.
You hit the nail on the head. I don't understand why people don't play this card. It seems like it's got insane value. No one's ever going to attack this card as a planeswalker, right? Like they'd much happily attack you with whatever they had. Building tokens, building blockers. Like we talk a lot about how planeswalkers are good when they have like one ability that's good, one that protects itself, and one that wins the game. Well, I mean, this has 2 of those where it protects itself and protects your creatures and draws you a card. Seems pretty good for 4 idiots.
Yeah, and in this deck, it's weird. Normally in decks that I build, I really don't want my stuff going to the graveyard unless it's a graveyard deck.
Right.
This deck I really don't care about because it is a bunch of binder bullshit. And it's like, all right, whatever. I got rid of this thing that could have made me 1 3/4 flyer once. Sure, I'll pitch it. There's no more important things.
And actually, like that's a good point where it's like your graveyard doesn't matter because you don't need anything out of it, right? So go ahead.
Yeah.
Like everything I have is on the board in the library. Yeah, it's in your. Let's put that in your feelings pocket, because I think we're going to be talking about that at a later point at some point.
Well, there we go. All right, Tuck, what's your second grain?
So I am a huge fan of these kind of cards because I love the mechanics that they drive. And it's, I guarantee you just had one of these lying around, and we might have talked about it in the deck that you gave me that cost me $200. And on top of it, looks like Godfather is having a great time with his friends. But he might be let down with a Curse of Veracity. I just realized he doesn't care, but whatever. 2 colors in blue. Enchantment or a curse. Enchant player. Whenever enchanted player is attacked, draw a card. Each opponent attacking that player does the same. Let's take it to the wheel here. And we got some new ones. Thank you very much. Oh, good. Good.
What, Pikachu?
No. Life chatter beckons many an attentive ear. It's a ghoul, man. It's a
ghoul.
Yeah, it's an visit. What how else do you say that? So anyways, the curses have a very weird like bucket to be in. I like a lot of them, and this is one that I like the most because it's harmless. It benefits both people. And what do people care about more in Magic than drawing cards? So for me, very low floor. It doesn't make you a target, especially when you're just like running out 1/1 tokens left, right, and center.
Hey, now they're important.
So that's why I like to see this. Like, I think this is a deck that people get wary about playing because they're not playing Enchantress, they're not playing Curses, whatever. Run your decks if you want a cheap Rhystic Study varietal.
Yeah, I like it for this deck in particular because people are generally scared of token decks because they can just explode out of nowhere.
Right.
And so I'm not looking for a whole lot of real threatening things to put on the board. And but I need to be able to draw cards as efficiently, as quickly as possible. So I like this curse because it doesn't even say whenever enchanted player takes combat damage. It's like,
right,
hey,
thank you.
I'm going to swing at you so I get to draw a card. You can block because you got a 2/2 and my thing's a 1/1. And it's like, okay, no shenanigans.
Exactly. Yep.
Nope. Okay, boom. Let's just bounce off. And it's just a card draw. It's not a piece of gold that they could use to get them to a bigger spell. It's not a 2/2 tap zombie. It doesn't untap all their lands.
Yep.
Like, it is the most harmless one out of, I mean, I guess you could argue the 2/2 zombie is the most harmless one, but I would say this is probably the most, well, what's the white one?
Gain 2 life or some bullshit.
Okay, so that's the most harmless one. And then this one's the second most harmless. Granted, no one's going to want you drawing cards, but like I said, like, people are going to fear the tokens, but
right.
I think it's more I'm fearing the attacks. I'm not really worried about you getting cards in hand because you can't even ramp up or play your stuff incredibly quick. And when I look at your commander, it's a very cool mythic and then a piece of trash uncommon. So it definitely flies under the radar. And for what, $170? You'll never feel bad about playing it.
I completely agree. So on board, right. I'm here for it. What do you got last?
My last one, no flavor text, didn't do that on purpose, but it is a novel to read. It's specific to upkeep and white spells, and you could do its sacrifice effect once, but I think if you do it right, it's real cool. Are we matched?
Yeah, we are. I don't have anything to shake, so ready.
All right. How about this? Yeah! 3, 2, 1.
Shrine of the Loyal Legions.
2 colorless artifact. It's an uncommon from New Phyrexia, coming in at 12 cents. And yes, I did get this in my Squeeze Crack Pack video I don't know if he ever finished. Maybe he did. I know he did my Prophecy one, but this was part for the Booster Box League.
Got it.
So what I'm going to do is I'll read the first part, and then Big Tuck, you read the activated ability.
Done.
So it has a static effect of at the beginning of your upkeep or whenever you cast a white spell, put a charge counter on Shrine of Loyal Legions.
And then it says 3 colorless and tap it. Sacrifice Shrine of Loyal Legions. Put a 1/1 colorless mirror artifact creature token onto the battlefield for each charge counter on Shrine of Loyal Legions.
So the thing I like about this card, and the reason it's a grain, is not a single damn person is going to target this unless it
There's
gets
no
to
way.
17 or 18 or 20. And if it gets that big, you've probably saved up 3 mana to save it from some sort of blow up thing. So
right.
Frozen Grip's the only way that thing's dying. But, it's something that a lot of people will be like, oh, man, it's at 9. You going to do anything about it? And it's like, I don't know. You got Sword of Feast and Famine out there. Like,
right.
I'm going to deal with that before the Shrine of Loyal Legions. It'll just fly under the radar so long. And then when you do pop this could be a yeast card if I had a way to give my stuff like haste consistently or at all. But the fact that I could just for 3 mana have 20 1/1s seems really good.
Yeah, I agree. For everything said, and also this deck's like CMC skews to white, so I think it's like one of those cards where it's like when people see it, they think that people are including it because they have some sort of gimmick with it, right? Like all the shrines are kind of in the same scope, where it's like it's like burn someone or discard cards or whatever. Whereas this one though, it's just like All right, well, he casts Commander. Upkeep 2. It's 2/1/1 mirrors. All right, like, oh, he casts, whatever the case may be. So I think that I think this deck, one of this deck's strengths of it having an ability that we'll talk to in the bottle capping is that no one has any idea what's going on. So something like this is going to be a powerhouse card, but in reality is just like innocuous to everyone else there. So yes, I'm right on board with you. Great pick. A lot of fun with this one.
By the way, why don't I see this run with Mere Battlesphere like ever?
I think most
you would tap the 20 mirrors and just blast someone 20 to the face.
I think the stipulation is the white spell that's on it, right? Mere Battlesphere is usually run in like mono red readies or like Azorius, like.
And I guess Brea, there's other better cards you'd rather do.
Yeah, probably. I hear what you're saying. I just think that there's, like you said, probably better cards that can do it.
All right. Well, that was our last one. Now we're going to head over to the hot profile. And Big Tuck, what's your first one?
You wanted to put, like, one thing I like about doing this with MrCombo is, like, I know his bizarro like card choices and like what he chooses to buy and how he chooses to shoehorn them in the deck. And every once in a while, like, other sometimes, like, what are you doing? He's like, I don't know, I just got it. Cool. Every once in a while, he gets like this bizarro sub win. And I think this one that he got in the bird secret lair, what that you chose to buy. Wait, are we together or no?
Oh yeah, we are. Of course, I had to talk about this. All right. 3, 2, 1. Dubscape. Tuck can't breathe.
It's so
read the cards. It's great. 3 colorless, hybrid Azorius. So pay it however you want. It's an enchantment, and this is from the Bird Secret Lair, coming in at a cool $2. Whenever a player casts a non-creature spell, counter that spell. That player creates X 1/1 white blue bird creature tokens with flying, where X is the spell's converted mana cost.
I mean, look,
Tuck, have you recovered from your breathing incident?
I don't know, man. Like, I'm kind of like torn up. I'm torn up between thinking that this is insanity or this is the best card in the deck.
Well, so here, you got to think about it. What do token decks hate? Non-creature spells.
Right.
It's going to be the Artifact Nev's Disc.
Sure.
It's going to be your enchantments, like your Pyrohemias, your board wipes, your bounce spells. This shuts it all down. And we all get birds for it. So it's how can you be mad? Now, I will say that if I want to win the game, I'm going to need my key enchantments and artifacts already on the battlefield. So then that way I can kind of keep doing my deal, because I don't have enough big splashy non-creature spells that it's like, oh yeah, I'm fine pitching this thing for 8 to get 8 1/1 white birds, because at the end of the day, they're still 1/1s. Now, granted, Prava can turn them into 2/5s, and then go on over to Sakashima to go ahead and turn them into 3/9s. And that could do something, and they are flying, but everyone else is getting flyers as well. So it's a very cute card. It's a very hoppy card. And the only reason it didn't go into Spice is because it does actually create tokens, and they are useful tokens.
So I agree with all that. And I think the reason why I think it's like this bizarro, weird best card is because there's some cards in here where it's like, would you rather cast Cackling Counterpart on a target of something, or would you rather cast Cackling Counterpart and get 3 bird tokens to fuel everything else that you already have, right? Like that's
true.
That's a bizarro part of it. It's like this card is so, like we've talked don't laugh, it's true. Like we've talked a lot about how like stages of the game are so important, right? And that's why I think this card is like so slimy, where it's like early game, you have nothing, you're shutting down everyone else, right? Late game, you have everything. This is your best card in your deck because every single thing is going to fuel into that, right? So I think Dubscape, I think a normal person would take a lot of care into what deck they put Dovescape into. I'm guessing you just had it lying around and thought it was cute. But that being said, it's still a really good card in the deck. So I have to give credit where credit's due.
Well, I think you'll have to give credit even more because my next card, I literally just realized, is kind of a win con with Dovescape. So it deals with ETB's creatures, and when they happen on my side, positive things. When it happens to my opponents, it's a negative. So Suture Priest is a very good
oh my
god for my deck. For a colorless white, I also got this in that same pack with my new Phyrexia stuff for the Boxing League. It's a 1/1 for $1.50. Creature Cleric. Whenever another creature ETBs under my control, I gain a life. So that's initially why I had it in here is, you know what, I can gain life because people are going to be pinging me down. And in theory, I should be hopefully making 3 to 5 tokens a turn. That's the goal. And so, 3 to 5 life, that's nothing to sneeze at. And then the second ability was just supposed to really deter my opponents until I remembered what Dovescape did. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, you may have that player lose 1 life. You want to cast like 15 mana worth of spells? Can you get 15 birds? Drain you for 15. You son of a bitch. Get out of here with that.
This was one that's kind of on the chopping block for me. It's not for the exact same reason. I think that this card is very good in a token deck because you're going to be generating them, but I'm still like tossed up into how many tokens you're actually going to be generating at a given time. So, I think...
Yeah, but I mean, think about this. Before you moved, it seemed like every time you sat at a pod, someone's doing a token.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Whether it's, it doesn't even matter if they're super useful. It could just even be 0/1 plants. Someone's making probably 15, 20 tokens throughout the course of a game.
Yeah, that's true. And I think Suture Priest, when you're generating tokens, the cost is so low. If this costs 4, no chance, right? But the fact that it's 2 and affects both ways... A solid inclusion. It's kind of like it's like a meat and potatoes one. You know what I mean?
But the Dovescape thing is hilarious.
I agree. Right? No, that I 100% agree with. That's fucking incredible, and I hope to see it.
All right, Tuck. Well, what is your second top?
So this is a weird cycle that some of them are really good and other ones are really bad. And then other ones are also sneaky good, but they're all very loyal. And I think Loyal Unicorn is a weird, sneaky good one. So 3 colorless and a white for 3/4 vigilance creature unicorn. Could have been a horse, but here we are. At the beginning of your combat your turn, if you control your commander, prevent all combat damage that will be dealt to creatures you control on your turn. Other creatures you control gain vigilance until end of turn. So for me, the way I look at this is
the reason it's not a horse is because then it would be almost unbeatable with that other horse. That that Pegasus
Crescent
that
Sunmare,
5 horses.
The one other horse. I had this conversation with Tice. Drink.
But it would make this indestructible, and then the other thing's going to be preventing all combat damage. It's almost impossible to get rid of.
No, you just kill the Crescent Sunmare. The Crescent Sunmare doesn't have indestructible. It's so easy to get rid of.
But then this thing is going to prevent all combat damage, and that's a lot of times the way that people get rid of stuff is I'm going to try to block it in combat, and then if you board wipe, the Loyal Unicorn lives, and so that's still another thing that can prevent a shit ton of damage.
MrCombo,
I'm just saying,
I don't disagree with you, right? That is a mythic card that's not legendary that very few people run in combat decks. So I had this exact same conversation with Tyson. It's what with all that, we don't need to get into it. Okay. Thank you. Loyal Unicorn. I think the reason why this is really good and why people don't realize how good this is because the vigilance is humongous, like you said. Even though they have the +2/+4, and they get it only on your turn. That's amazing, right? Then you kind of leave yourself open if you're swinging out with a bunch of things. So for 4 mana, not only are you getting pseudo indestructible, you're also getting pseudo vigilance. So all your tokens that you had to swing out with now can be blocking for whatever people are coming in, like Eldrazi's or horrible beasts of the 9 wilds.
And you didn't even hit on the biggest part to me with this card. Any of these lieutenant cards, when you have 2 commanders,
yes,
makes it very, very easy to to be able to always get that lieutenant, because that's the one drawback to lieutenant with a single commander is like, oh, that effect is phenomenal, but I have to make sure my commander's on the battlefield, and that's one card, and it may cost 4 extra command tax this next time, or 6 by the time I get to that. Well, with Sakashima and Prava, and I'll tell you this, everyone kills Sakashima, no one kills Prava, which doesn't make any sense to me because Sakashima doesn't do shit without Prava.
I 100% agree. And the fact that you have a 3-drop commander that is like you're effectively build around also tracks on Loyal Unicorn.
Yeah, so that's the big thing on Loyal Unicorn that I really like is 99% of the time, very much like the Guardianship cards, I'm going to get both effects.
Yep, totally.
All right. Well, my last one is a very meat and potatoes one, but it's okay because I have Virtue. And it's going to give me what Loyal Unicorn's going to do, just half the effect. So Intangible Virtue is a very good card and surprisingly cheap considering everything it does. So a colorless and a white, it's an enchantment. Creature tokens you control get +1/+1 and have vigilance, and it's coming in at about a dime.
Yeah.
Big Tuck, there is flavor text though, unfortunately. Why don't you let me know who I'm going to be speaking at?
Spinning it up. Here we are. Tavalis, aka Canoe Reeves, an easy one for you.
In life, there were a motley crew, farmers, lords, cut purses, priests. In death, they are united in a singular, benevolent purpose. Wild Stallion!
All right, so real quick, did you know that after Keanu Reeves made a bunch of movies in the 90s, and before he made The Matrix, he quit acting to go act in Shakespeare plays in Canada?
No.
Yeah, dog.
That is phenomenal. Best thing I've heard all day.
The best card I've seen all day is Intangible Virtue, though.
Well, this card is absurd for token decks. I don't think we need to go a whole ton into it. +1/+1 and vigilance. Basically, it's making it even harder to kill my 1/1 or 2/2 tokens now, and I get to keep them for blockers. And I think the big thing for this deck in particular, because I have forgotten about it multiple times, is that Prava's only on your turn. It's not during everyone else's turn. So usually when you have a big butt, it's like, okay, cool, like your wall deck, like I'm going to be hitting you for a lot, but then I got big booties to kind of protect me on the crackback. You don't really have that with this because all you have are 1/1. So at least this gives it that additional toughness that might make a difference. Because I will say, people aren't very afraid of you when you're just hitting them for 2 with 3 creatures.
Yeah, I agree.
6 damage, it's like, okay, whatever. But 9 damage, okay, we're getting close to 25% of my life total. That could add up.
I agree. I think we talked about this during your Gerard build as well, or Geared, yeah. If you're running white and you're not running this card and you're running tokens, you maybe want to go into Digimon or maybe, something like that. I'll do another quick one. This is a giant shout out to our host last week, Ondu Inversion. So 6 colorless, white for a sorcery /land, and it says destroy all noun land permanents. So MrCombo, and then it flips and enters the battlefield tapped, and it can add a white. So MrCombo made a point earlier about how the lands are skewed, which I think is great. And it's weird, especially after with our previous guest Tomer, who's huge in these MFDCs, if you will. And I think that all the ones that you have in here are quite solid for the deck that you're in, right?
Thank you.
You're very welcome. I think that a lot of arguments that people make is they're too slow. Even if you draw them in your first one, then blah, blah, blah. But if you're building a deck that's not super fast, why wouldn't you have this in here, right? And there's a bunch of other ones that you have. This is
yeah, and I was just gonna read off those real quick so you guys kind of have an idea. Like we have McKindy Stampede in here.
Yep.
Sorcery creatures get +2/+2. Jawari Disruption. It's an instant counter spell unless they pay 1. Amiria's Call makes 2/4/4 white angels, and then non-angels get indestructible till end of turn. Is that all of them?
there's
those 4.
Shoot the count. You got the counter spell, right? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So continue on, Cuck.
So again, I think that if you're trying not to run the super streamlined deck that you have to win every single turn on turn 5, things like Undo Inversion are going to save you more times than not, right? Like I have been saved by the Malakir Rebirth version of this, which is in black, many times. So for me, when you say you have 31 lands, in reality you have your 35. All solid inclusions, especially this one, which is a late game reset.
Yeah, I mean, it does suck because it's going to get rid of my tokens as well. But I really look at this particular card as I'm only going to have the mana incredibly late game anyways.
Right.
And if I just so happen to have it, I'm only casting it when it's, well, crap, I really can't do anything. Let's go. And the fact that it says non-land permanents, it's going to get rid of all those planeswalkers. Mm-hmm. It's going to take care of a lot of stuff that normal board wipes don't. So 8 mana is extremely overcosted, but the fact that any time turn 8 or earlier, I could just play it for a tapped land. It's like not the end of the world. And there's never going to be a point that, like, if I don't hit land on curve, it completely throws off the entire deck. I'm just like, oh, I'm an Azorius. I guess I play some other cheap piece of crap card.
Totally. So yes, I'm here with you, and I think it's a great inclusion.
All right, well, that's going to wrap up the hot profile. Now we're going to head over to the yeast and how the deck wins. It's a bit of a stretch. We got 10 options. First one, it's the very first one on the list. It's a banger. It's her will.
Yeah, it is.
Girl.
Get the shaker, baby.
Hold on. Let's get the dice that is now the shaker. Oh, no. Here we go.
Oh, nice. Yeah. There they are. Thank you.
3, 2, 1.
A Chroma's Will.
3 colorless white instant mythic rare? Or is that just
That's
rare?
just a rare. It's coming in for 5 though. Choose one. If you control a commander, as you cast a spell, you may choose both. Creatures you control gain flying, vigilance, double strike until end turn. Creatures you control gain lifelink, indestructible, and protection from all colors until end of turn. Woof. I will say this: a great card in a subpar deck.
Yeah, well, I mean, we already knew we were on that train when you saw that I had a Consecrated Sphinx in the deck that's worth $40.
Yes.
10% of the deck. So, yeah, doesn't need a whole lot said about it. Now, granted, we are still at the challenge of you're dealing with, at this point, 2/2 or 2 5s or 3 9s. They're not big, they're not beefy, but the double strike can help. I mean, you might that turn be able to turn what would have been just 12 damage into 24, and that's a pretty big game changer. And the life link is you're going to be getting drips and drabs all game long. I'll do a 48 life swing with you, even though you may still be perfectly fine. It's kind of like, let's look at it this way. There's someone who doesn't have a lot in life. They're living on the streets. They're not in the best situation. A Happy Meal to them that maybe haven't been able to eat in X amount of time, they're going to have a different reaction than maybe if you just left the Cheesecake Factory stuffing your face.
Yes, exactly.
That's kind of what a Chroma's Will is. For me in this deck, I am the homeless person, and this is a Happy Meal, and I'm so thankful for it. But to everyone else, it's like, oh, all right. I mean, it's a fine card. But, Crater Hoof's better, and all these other cards are better. Yeah,
I agree. And I think, like, the modality of it, doing instant speed, if you have, like, if you played your Intangible Virtue and you have all these blockers, being able to cast this before damage or before blockers and being able to block everything and live out through it also is huge, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, like, that's why I see, like, I don't know about the collective, but I think when I think of a yeast card, I think this is a game winner, right? But also, yeast cards can also be I'm not out of this game. I'm still alive. And I think that's why Chroma's Will, with the two commanders that you've chosen, fits right in that spot, right? It could win you the game. It could prevent you from losing the game. It could radically shift it with one card. And to me, that's a yeast card if I've ever seen it.
Oh, and we didn't even highlight it. This is another one of those lieutenant type cards to where it's even better in a partner deck.
Exactly. Totally agree.
All right, Tuck, what's your second card?
Speaking of another card that's valuable in a partners deck, this is a new one that I think should probably get played more in partners. But Commander's Insignia, to me, has a huge upside. So 2 colorless, white. We haven't done a lot of accents, so unfortunately we have to do another one here. Creatures you control get +1/+1 for each time you've cast your commander from the command zone this game. Please give me Pikachu. Please give me Pikachu. Please give me Pikachu. Please give me Pikachu. Oh, damn it. Like, at the General's triumphant return, renewed strength surged like through the soldiers' ranks. Smelly cat.
So before you go, you do realize the funniest thing about that is the Friends Reunion just debuted on HBO Max today. You can stream. We'll go watch it.
No, I just matched with this girl online who her first thing said, I think the Friends and The Office are overrated. And I was like, you and I are gonna get along like I heard one of those round pegs in a round hole. So anyways, this card I think is underplayed because a lot of people who build like the partner commanders, especially before this new Commander Legends, they built them as like sort of combo decks or where the partners were only like a means to an end. But if you're actually playing partners to like this deck where they actually matter, like more than a lot of other cards in the decks, this matters, right? So you have this out, you cast your commander 1 time for 3, everything you're having immediately goes to a what? 4-5 or 3-5, right?
Oh, you're talking about with both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would basically go to a 3-9 because it's 2-1-4, so that's 2-8 plus the 1-1-3-9.
Right. So, but even if you haven't cast Sakashima, the first one is like what? It goes from a 1-4 to a 2-8. So 2-5. Oh, because of the +1, right? It does double. It does double. Yes.
If you don't do Sakashima,
right.
Yeah.
So for me, again, like I think this is a card that people try to dunk on, but in reality, this is a card that actually has a lot of value, especially in a deck that cares about small creatures.
And I will say this, though. This will be a card that will draw removal. Like, this card is immensely powerful, especially in this kind of crappy deck, because this is a card that you probably are going to cast that mid to late game. You've probably had to cast Prava once, Sakashima twice, and if they say, like, oh, and this is a card that you don't even put a counter on it, because it doesn't have counters. So it's just, you kind of do that mental check, and you have your dice over there. So you play it, you read the card, and you just kind of move on, and then it's like, okay, I swing, okay, how much should I take? And then you add on +3 to all of it. And it's like, well, what do you mean? Your guys only give it +2. And it's like, no, this also happens. I've cast right. 3 times, +3. And they're like, holy shit. That's like 6 creatures. I just took an additional 18 damage. I'm dead now.
Exactly.
So this is a card that you may be able to sneak it by once. But Tuck even talked about it. One of the commanders only costs 3. And so he's going to be cheaper. The other one's only 4. And this doesn't even need to see them on the battlefield.
Right.
It's just cast. It might get to the point, and if this is another cool thing about this mechanic I just thought of, your commanders don't even need to be on the battlefield.
Right, yeah.
So you might have cast your commanders to the point that you cannot afford it anymore. It's turn 20 of a 3.5-hour game. I am drunk and passed out on the floor. You top deck this, plant it, my creatures get +20, +20.
Right, yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's bananas. It's insanely good for an $11 card when partner commanders are about to run rampant. So great inclusion. Love to see it.
All right. Well, my second one, it's kind of a staple in token decks, considering its price is also at like $10. This is a monument.
This is one I cheese because of your accent work. So...
Oh, you dick. Then I'm going to go with Eldrazi Monument.
Yes, me too. That's what I'm saying. I cheesed it because I saw the thing.
I thought you meant you cheesed it like you saw that it was the one accent, and so you decided not to do it.
No, well, actually, to be fair, I chose it before. I chose it, then went to the accent list. But the good news is it's 5 colorless for an artifact that's a mythic. Around $10. Creatures you control get +1/+1, have flying and indestructible. So at the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice a creature. If you can't, sacrifice Eldrazi Monument. Please hold, because
Patron Lavender picked out the voice for this. Eily Cosma Cleric as a Southern Belle. Gods don't die. They merely slumber.
That's good. That's like ace work. That's like top tier work.
So, once again, I think this is a card. If you understand what tokens do, you don't need explanations. Yeah. +1/+1 and have flying and indestructible. Usually the big negative behind this is the beginning of your upkeep, sack a creature. So usually it's like decks that care about sacrifice. Like someone that used to play in our play group had a Marin deck. They would run Eldrazi Monument because they could use it as a sack
every turn
after upkeep. I actually think it's fine in this deck, because Prava can create tokens for 4 mana, and I have lots of token generators where it's spend X mana, which I guess that is kind of like magical currency, or remove this many counters, create a token. So I can always make a token, and I think the effect of the +1/+1 flying indestructible is powerful enough. Even if I had to pay 4 mana every rotation to have it, I think I would do that.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that like we talked about when we talked about Cackling Counterpart, your deck is kind of that weird middle ground where it's like you don't have any big creatures to copy. You have a bunch of small things to the ground. So I think you're always going to have something to sacrifice, right? Like, even if it's your commander and you're like, okay, fair enough, I pay 5 for it next turn. If your board state is such that like the only creature you want to sacrifice is one of your commanders because you want them to come back on the battlefield, like Sakashima,
or another commander's insignia trigger.
Exactly, right? Like that's why Monument's really good. It's really good.
Really good. All right. Well, I believe I'm the only one left.
Yes, sir.
So the last card I'm going to be talking to is, I think, a mono white staple in token decks.
Can I guess?
Mirror.
Oh, never mind.
Entity.
Nice. Yes. 2
colorless white creature shapeshifter rare coming in. Let's just say $2. It's a changeling, so it is every creature type because that's super relevant in this deck. I'm kidding, it's not. You can pay X mana, no tapping, just X. Until end of turn, creatures you control have base power and toughness of XX and gain all creature types. And so you know how I was kind of complaining this whole episode about
excuse me, real quick, hold on. There's some flavor text to be read here, and we did get another lucky one of Ashiok, the choir boy.
Oh, I just have to sing?
Yeah. High pitch, though, like castrato.
Oh. Can I just sound like I'm being molested? I'm just kidding. Cut that, Andy. Unaware of lore winds, diversity it sees, only itself reflected 1,000 times over.
Times over.
I said that.
Oh, you did? Oh, sorry, cut out. That was incredible. That was really good. That was kind of incredible.
It sounded terrible. It actually reminded me of why I chose band over choir. This card is amazing because it is an issue that, you know, especially late game when resources are not as plentiful. It's hard to win games with 1/1s.
Yeah.
With no infect trickery or trample trickery or anything like that. Beastmaster Ascension, something.
Oh, so wait, I'm sorry. Anything green is what you're trying to get at.
There we go. Hell, I'd even take red. Give me some double strike. So that's why Mirror Entity is so key to this deck for the late game. I don't have a way to tutor it, so it is just going to be by luck or by
Tuck?
I don't have a thing. Yeah, I was gonna say cuck, but it's like, no, I'm not.
No, it's Tuck. By luck or by Tuck.
Their wife. Oh, Tuck. I think you said cuck. Oh man, I got real dark and so Mirror Entity, it just does a lot, and I think even if I have that Eldrazi Monument and I have to pay 4 to get a token to kill because I maybe have some other 2/2s or 3/3s that are worth keeping, it's worth it to pay the 4 mana. And then let's pay a bunch into these guys to keep my commander around, because it's their base power and toughness. So they still get the pluses from everything else. It's just going to make it bigger. And with the Eldrazi Monument, let's keep all those guys out there. Let's go flying indestructible, and now potentially 7/7s or 8/8s. It's about the only way I have planted on board I can possibly win this turn, because Mirror Entity doesn't even need to swing. That would be its one drawback, is when Mirror Entity attacks, you may pay X, everything gets XX. So what do you think of Mirror Entity? Am I just rambling about
not at all.
mediocre card?
I was waiting for you to finish, and I think the big, like, so this is why this is so good, and like this is how I fell into this so many times ago. It's like, well, okay, I'm going to combat. I'm going to pay 8 into Mirror Entity, so now I have 9 8/8, or I have 9 8/8s, or whatever it boils down to, swing it in. They're like, okay, cool, I'll just block them with Shrakes, right? I think this is I think, like, in reality, we've talked a lot about these, like slimy-ish cards where it's like, this is a card that might as well just read, hey, I have 4 untapped mana, how do you want to block? Right? The fact that you can do an instant speed before damage, before anything else, some people might just be like, well, okay, I'll let 2 in, I guess, because they didn't read your board right, and you're like, well, sucks for you, you just lost 18.
You're dead.
Yeah, right, exactly. And if Mirror Entity said something to the tune of like, activate this ability only before the combat step or something, I think it would be like or
before the blockers are declared,
right. And
like
I think the real power in it, and this is something, like I said, I learned playing this card in Chicago, was that you have all the power, right? And if you block and you realize that, like, oh, I just need to bump them up for 2, and then I have my back over mana for whatever else I want, just so that they live, perfect. If I need to bump them all up just to kill this one person, that's why it's so good, right? It's that X and that colon. Love it.
Awesome. All right. Well, that's going to wrap up the East section. Now on to the Spice. Let's see if Tuck took the bait.
Oh, absolutely not.
Ah, you dick.
I'm not sure if I took the right one, but I took this because I think it's interesting.
All right.
It's a bit of an ominous pick, some would say.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe we
Are you serious? Are you joking?
3, 2, 1. Ominous Seas.
Oh my god, are you kidding?
I didn't do it because I think this card is sneaky good.
I agree, and I think this is one of the few cards that your other pet card, Alta the Brood, go yourself, is actually good in. So that's why I was like, I can't possibly even talk about that. So Ominous Seas is a colorless and a blue from the enchantment. Whenever you draw a card, put a foreshadow counter on Ominous Seas, remove 8 foreshadow counters from it, create an 8/8 blue Kraken creature token, cycle 2. So do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
Let me just, because I think you'll have more thoughts on it, because I've actually never played this card or seen this card.
Really?
To me, for 2 mana, for someone to waste a removal spell, I'm good with that. 2 mana, it replaces itself. I'm good with that.
Yep.
And most likely, it's just going to sit there. And typically, cards like this read, remove 8 foreshadow counters and sacrifice Ominous Seas, create the 8/8. The fact that it stays, I'll just kind of leave it here, and I probably will make at least 2 8/8 blue Kraken creature tokens. Yeah. I'm fine with that for 2 mana. Even if I don't make any, if I make you waste a even austere command on it, it's like, okay,
right.
Well, I paid 2 mana, I gained a card, and you wasted probably your best board wipe. Okay, I'm fine with that. So that's my thought.
I completely agree. And I think, like, in the best version of this deck, where you have things that are running in the white and blue that are like Ristic Studies or whatever bullshit that you have where you're drawing a bunch of cards with your blues, that's when this really takes off. But beyond that, it doesn't, like, so if you look at this like this, right? So let's say that there was a card that said 2 colorless, suspend 4. After it comes off suspend, you get an 8/8 token. Hypothetically, right? Like, that card doesn't exist.
Yep.
I think that card is really good in this deck, right? So the fact that you're taking away the suspend of that, and you're having some semblance of dictation to every turn you're drawing a card, every turn you're drawing a card, every turn you're drawing a card, right? And people are gonna like you said, people are gonna be like, oh, this is a problem. This is Richter study. This is, trying to think of another good example. This isn't like a Jace Planeswalker, right? Which you have in the deck, which I like.
Sure.
It's just sitting there, right? Some would almost say ominously, just sitting there.
So the other thing I like about this card is, Tuck, I think when we're talking about the ominous laying undercover, I do have Consecrated Sphinx in the deck, and if you guys aren't familiar, for the two people out there, whenever an opponent draws a card, I get to draw 2. Think about it this way: once a rotation, basically I'm making an 8
right.
once a turn cycle. And even though the Ominous Seas is the thing that's doing that, people are immediately going to say, oh, we have to kill Consecrated Sphinx.
Yes.
How do we kill that? Got to kill that. Got to kill that. And I'm going to be like, oh, no, don't kill it. But then by the time they kill it, it's like, haha, I already made 2 8/8s and got 16 power. And I'm just going to keep doing it because I have other card draw stuff.
And like you said, MrCombo, worst case scenario, you're paying 2 to draw a card late game. Fine. Right? Like a lot of people pay a lot more to do a lot less. So yes, that's why I put this in here. This is also a card I really like. And I like the cycle mechanic. It just never worked into any of those decks I have. So I'm excited to see when that it does.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap up the spice package. Now we're going to head over to the bottle capping. And as a reminder, there's going to be Big Tucks and Ice cuts and ads that are under $5, under $50, and a no budget recommendation. Just can't be mana only lands.
So I'm gonna stop you right there, MrCombo. Now, normally, when we're cutting decks here and there, and we're making these things, we just use our genius brains of the variety of Magic cards that have been printed. And
of course,
right? Like, we don't need any sort of outside console. We don't need any sort of outside thing. And every once in a while, and including all my cuts, I had to do this out of my own brain.
The old-fashioned way.
Yes, the old-fashioned way. Because for those playing the home game, MrCombo has destroyed the internet because there are, and I quote, literally 0 EDH decks of this partner combination on the internet. And I'd go as far to say I couldn't even...
Not true. Not true. Not true, sir. There is... It's just basically what happens is that there's so few that they don't have a page for it because there's not enough data.
Yes, that's
so
it. Yes.
So I figured it out. If you guys go to Prava on EDH Rec, go to the left side, it says navigation, it says partners. You hit see more. It pulls up all their partner decks.
Right, which Sakashima is not even in the top options.
Yep, so you go down to the bottom to the not enough deck data section, and you keep scrolling, and eventually you come across Sakashima the Imposter. So, wait, she disappeared? She was there earlier today.
No, but I'm saying this, like, if you go down into the not enough deck data, it gives you 0 recommendations or 0 anything.
Oh, no, there it is. Okay, I didn't see her on the left. Yeah, she has 3 decks made with herself and Prava. So I did it. I did better than the Weatherlight report. Didn't know that.
So I also had to do this. Like, normally I have to go to EDH Rec just to like see 1 or 2, but this one I had to do absolute cold, and I think I got some bangers.
All right. Well, I'll be interested after I go because. Wake up! If you guys didn't know, that's a new Magic card that just came out. All right, so the first one I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna cut Kanji Skywarden. It's cute because it works great with Dovescape, but that's actually the only card it actually works.
I didn't want to cut it because I thought it seemed dumb, but I was like very confused when I first saw this in here.
Yeah, it's dumb. So Kanji Skywarden is 3 colorless Azorius. It's white and blue for a legendary creature bird wizard. Uncommon from Commander Legends. It's a 3/3 with flying vigilance. Whenever it attacks, attacking creatures with flying get +2/+0. And then whenever it blocks, blocking creatures with flying get +0/+2 until end of turn. And the only way to really make that stuff work in this deck is with the Dovescape, because I'd have birds, or the Eldrazi Monument, because it makes everything flying. And I guess one time it works with a Chroma's Will, but it's just there's not enough there to make it function.
I don't disagree at all. So I saw this and I was like, I'm either too dumb or I've been drinking too much to understand how this goes.
So the card I want to cut it for, it is going to increase my CMC by 1 total pip, but I'm dropping a blue, so it's going to make it easier to cast. And I think I'm going to be doing this a lot. Mirror Sigil Sergeant.
Oh, yes.
I've never 100%. Heard of this card before. 5 colorless white, creature, rhino, soldier, mythic. It's a 4/4. It has trample, which is actually big for this deck. Having a 4/4 with trample, that helps a lot. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control a blue permanent, you may put a token into play that's a copy of Mirror Sigil Sergeant. I'm always going to have a blue permanent of some kind. Token, enchantment, something. So this card, it's good because it's going to give Sakashima at least an additional target. You got Prava, you got Consecrated Sphinx, you got God Eternal Oketra, and like Elish Norn, which 2 Elish Norns would be pretty gross. But having another Mirror Sigil Sergeant, because then each one's going to trigger that upkeep on the single blue permanent. So now 1 is 2 with Sakashima. Well, now I'm at 4. Now I'm at 8, and it kind of becomes that exponential zombie emblem that the Liliana makes, but with 4/4 tramplers. So really like this card. It's only coming in at about $2.30. So for me, because I'm a madman, whenever something makes a token of itself, I always buy additional legitimate copies to have in my token binder. So it'll only cost me like $15.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, but that's how you struck the gold mine with Bloodforged Battle Axes, right?
Yeah, I'm so glad. Well, I'm not glad, but I did buy like 10 copies of those. 1 to use legitimately, 9 to use as tokens, and I found out that's like a $15 card.
I can tell you from my Azorius token deck that we talked about on episode insert here. Like, I was probably dead at the time. This card is absurd. Like, if this card makes the rotation, it's like very close over your opponent. So yeah, I love it.
All right, Tuck, what is your first cut? What's your first ad?
So I am going to cut a card that I think reads really well, but I've never gotten to feel good about. So I'm going to actually cut White Sun Zenith. So X and 3 white.
What?
Listen, hear me out. X and 3 white for a instant, create X/2/2 cat creature tokens. Or if you will, little baby cats. He was over there. Oh, good news. Stout is now sleeping on top of my bed as opposed to underneath it. So I can actually bother him at all hours of the day. Create X/2/2 white cat creature tokens, then shuffle it back into your deck. So the problem I have with this card is it's never worked for me, and it kind of doesn't really do anything, right? Like, dies to a board wipe. It's fine, right? But there was a card.
But it's reusable.
Wow. Like, so if you top deck it again in the next pile of 70 cards that you have in your deck,
it's an instant.
Agreed. But does it help you at all?
I need tokens.
I know. But there's a card that you and I have talked about at length that is in my opinion, for 19 cents, much bigger improvement. So Martial Coup. Come on, MrCombo. This is your this is the one. X colorless and 2/2 for sorcery. Create X/1/1 soldier creature tokens. If X is 5 or more, destroy all other creatures. What are you talking about? This one's a winner.
It's good, and it should be in the deck. I don't know. It's not. It's not replacing a White Sun Zenith. Good.
I think it is, because like at your worst case scenario, so if you cast White Sun Zenith for 5 plus 2, so that's 7 CMC.
This only nets you one more. It only nets you one more. Because
I agree, but also
it's 2 white pips.
Right, but I'm saying, like, for the same-ish amount of mana, plus or minus 1, you get a board wipe and get a whole nother bunch of tokens that after the board wipe, you can recast your cheap costing commander to swing into the red zone with.
1/1s versus 2/2s. Literally double the power with the kitty cats.
Fair enough, but
I don't know. I think the collective is going to agree with me on this one.
No, you're
Now,
insane.
I will say
You are someone who has recommended this into 2 decks that I had. You're crazy.
because it's good. But if you were going to tell me big MrCombo, that's what she said, put this in instead of Phyrexian Rebirth, then I think maybe there's a conversation, because now instead of just getting one big 9/9 or 10/10, I'm getting 9 or 10 1/1s that all get +1/+4. Maybe that's a conversation. Maybe.
I don't know, but like Phyrexian Rebirth, you get a total board wipe for. I think you need them both. If you're playing a combo deck, you need your Martial Coup and your Phyrexian Reno.
All right, that's fair.
Anyway,
all right. Well, my under $50, I'm cutting one of the few planeswalkers I have in the deck.
Wait.
Goodbye, Basri Ket.
Oh, okay. I'm also cutting a Planeswalker.
So Basri Ket is a colorless white. It is a planeswalker, brand new from M21, and I feel so bad cutting him because I haven't even seen him. It's just the more I look at the card, the more it doesn't do what you need. It's a mythic. And it says +1, put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target creature. It gains indestructible till end of turn. Fine. But my tokens are getting big butts anyway, so I don't really need that. Now, if it said until your next turn, different story. -2. Whenever one or more non-token creatures attack this turn, create that many 1/1 white soldier creature tokens that are tapped and attacking. Again, this is a token deck. I do have creatures in the deck to the tune of 18, but I think at most it's like, am I attacking with either of my commanders to risk losing the +1/+4 buff? Probably not.
Yeah.
So it's maybe making me for a -2, 1 or 2 creatures. Still not worth it. And then the last one actually is why I put the card in the deck. I just don't think I'm ever going to get there. At the beginning of, you get an emblem with, at the beginning of your combat on your turn, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token, then put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control, and it all comes in at 3 loyalty. So basically it comes in with 3, you go to 4, 5, 6, it's 4 turn clock to get that emblem, and I don't think you'll ever have a chance at getting it. So that's why I'm cutting it. Tuck, do you have any thoughts before I talk about what I'm
it all tracks. I think this card, I think it sounds a lot better than it is, but I think this card does have a home in something like my Odric deck, right? That's like a mono white, like I'm casting creatures, non-token creatures.
Yeah. And it's like keyword soup type stuff.
Exactly. So yes, that it tracks that you're going to cut this one. Good card, wrong deck for it.
Yeah, and I think the card I'm going to add to it, it adds in Tuck's favorite mechanic, and I wanted to get something in here that makes a token every.
Wait, hold on. Are you taking me to court right now?
I am.
I'm not either, but this is a great card. I'm really excited.
Oh, so I'm putting in Court of Grace. 2 colorless white enchantment. It's a rare from Commander Legends, coming in at actually almost $5.
What?
Which is pretty crazy. Yeah, it's showing $4.18 to $5.90 depending on the copy. At the beginning of your when it enters the battlefield, you become the monarch, and basically, guys, if you're not familiar with the monarch mechanic, at the beginning or at your end step, you get to draw a card if you're the monarch, and then if anyone attacks you, they take
deals damage.
So. Deals damage, yes. But here's why I think this card would be great for this deck. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. I just get that no matter what. Flying would be nice. Maybe that even makes Kanji relevant to keep in the deck. This is probably a stretch.
I don't know about all that.
But if I'm the monarch, I'm making a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying instead.
Also, we have slouched because we have read 2 cards right now with flavor text and we didn't do the bit. So,
well, we don't do flavor text during the bottle cap.
Oh no, we still do. It just doesn't matter for new ads.
Oh yeah, I totally look at that. I don't even know what I do on my own cast. Well, we're just moving on anyways.
What do you think? Our old pal Pikachu. Okay, we're moving on.
So I think this is great because I'm going to get a token no matter what. Yeah. It's just whether it's a 1/1 flyer or a 4/4 flyer, and I think there is a way to play this deck, unfortunately, like other Azorius decks, where you just sit tight, establish your board, make sure other people don't mess with your board until it's big enough. So I guess you could like pseudo figure out a way to keep the Monarch no matter what. So they're 4/4s instead. Maybe do that for 4, 5, 6 turns. That sounds very boring to me, so I probably won't do that. And I'll try to do the whole thing of, hey, I got that Curse of Veracity out there, so we could all kind of draw cards. Go ahead and hit me for one.
Yeah, come on down. Come on down.
I'll take a 1/1, and you can draw a card, and I won't even swing it back to take it from you. I wouldn't even go that far, because then it's shifting around the Ires away from me, and I'm fine with 1/1s with flying, because that's better than 1/1s on the ground in this deck, because really every 1/1 is a 2/5.
Exactly, and especially when you're running stuff like Intangible Virtue and whatnot, like there's no way that you're not getting value out of this card the second you cast it, right? Like if this card makes one cycle around, you're getting your value out of it.
Completely agree. All right, Tuck, what are you doing for your under 50 cut now?
Well, it's pretty easy. I'm cutting your binder bullshit from a Johnny Wise Counselor? Question mark.
What?
There's just a better Johnny. 3 colors and white for legendary Planeswalker Johnny. It's and I'll quote here, mythic, for also $10. Because with 5 loyalty, it's got a +2. You get a +1 life for each creature you control. -1. Creatures you control get +2/+2 until end turn. -9. Put X 1/1 counters on target creature where X is your life total.
+2, gain life all day long. Or -1, creatures get +2/+2. That's great.
Well, what if I told you that the same Lion Boy could give you a -2 that matters in this deck? We're talking about a Johnny Strength of the Pride. 2 colorless and white for loyalty 5. +1. Like you said, gain life equal to the number of creatures you control plus the number of planeswalkers you control. There's your life gain. -2. Create a 2/2 cat, white cat, baby cat, soldier creature token named a Johnny's Primate with whenever you gain life, put a 1/1 counter on Johnny's Primate. 0. If you have at least 15 more life than your starting total, exile him and each artifact and creature your opponents control. So here's the way I read this, right? You're already gaining life with the +1. It don't matter.
It don't matter.
It don't matter. -2, you're getting a token that could potentially be a beater if you can give evasion or something like that, right? Like a 2/2 with lifelink. Or I'm sorry, a 2/2 with whenever you gain life and 1/1 counter on it. Not bad for a Planeswalker. And then eventually, if you ever get to the lifelink like sub-theme that might exist in this deck, that 0 is pretty good. So for me, I feel like this, for 1 mana less, this Johnny Planeswalker has a lot more value to you than as you're well aware of, life gain is relative in most decks because you can just get slammed in the face by Prosh, and this one will at least give you a token.
Okay, that's not bad.
For those playing the home game, whenever MrCombo says one of my cuts is not bad, that means it's actually good. Listen,
so here's the thing.
Oh, here we go.
It does do the life gain, which is awesome. Technically, it does it worse than the Counselor. Or I guess it's the same.
Well, I mean,
except it also counts your planeswalkers.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, but it is a +1 instead of a +2. Haha. So, and then instead of a -1, you got a -2. And here's where I will disagree. I think just making a 2/2 whack Queetza token.
Would you say it's a whack?
Whatever.
Like a wet ass cat token? Whack?
Oh, there we go. I was going for wet ass Pomeranian, but we'll take that as well. And so getting that 2/2 token that gets a +1 counter with life gain, I think we're all too maybe traumatized by Magic Arena or someone, Sir Nathan, that has a life gain deck, Sir Nathan, where Ajani's Primate gets humongous and it just claps face.
Right.
I think I would rather have the +2 for the go wide than that single token. And like I mentioned before. And actually, it's kind of nice because I could actually go gain life, -2 one turn, -2 the next turn, gain life, and I'm always staying in that neutral. This one, you're going to have to plus, minus, plus, minus. So I get to be a little bit more aggressive with the other one. I will say, though, the 0 is very interesting because the 0 is something to where I don't have it in here, but I could run cards like Eerie Interlude to at least save my non-token stuff out while that's on the stack. Everything gets exiled, and then boom, it comes back.
And that's what.
Oh, I guess it is opponent's control. Okay,
but I'm saying
so Ultimate's way better than the other one.
Thank you.
Absolutely, way better. But I think the first two are not nearly as good. So just my thought. But
I hear you on that. Yes, and I have one more. My last cut, I'm so much more excited about. It doesn't even matter that we have disagreements. Let's keep going.
It doesn't matter. All right.
So don't matter.
No budget. I'm actually cutting a card that I really like, and I love it in my Is It All Permanents deck, but the more I looked at it, I just think I need to get rid of it. So Myriad Construct. I'm just going to go ahead and cut it. 4 colorless artifact creature construct. It's a rare from Zendikar Rising.
Oh, sure.
For kicker 3. So you could pay additional 3 colorless. So for a total of 7 mana to get its kicked ability. If it was kicked, it enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it for each non-basic land your opponent's control. So you see that, and it's like, holy crap, that thing's going to get humongous. And then it says whenever it becomes the target of a spell, sacrifice it and create a number of 1/1 colorless construct artifact creature tokens equal to its power, which also seems incredibly powerful. And that's why I run it in my Brutaclad deck, because Brutaclad, I actually have ways of making extra copies of Myriad Construct and then adding counters.
Yep.
And so it really makes someone want to have to remove it. I don't really have a way to shift counters or copy counters or do any of that in this deck. So I think people are like, oh, it's a 10/10. That sucks, but it doesn't have trample. Just block it because he doesn't need 10 1/1s. So that's my thought on it. Tuck, do you have any?
I agree. And I think you have a, with your token producers, and I'll get into my last cut. I think you have like this bizarro, you have like you're like tokens and then 2 sub themes underneath it, right? Like one is artifacts, one is instants and sorceries. And I feel like you haven't like committed either way, which we'll get to. So for me, I agree. Like if this dies, you have no way to recur it, as we made mention. Great card. Definitely good in Brutaclad. It's like we've talked about this a lot, or at least I've said it a lot tonight. It's like great card, wrong deck, right?
Yeah. And that's something that I did see as I was putting it online is for a token deck, this is probably good. This just isn't the right token deck.
Wholly agree.
But for a cool, just short of $50 now, I can add in the white token staple of Anointed Procession.
It's $50?
$46.69 is the promo, $41.31 the OG
Jesus
copy.
Christ.
So 3 colorless white enchantment. It's a rare from Amonkhet. And honestly, I think people would say that's a trash set or mediocre set at best.
Yeah,
but it's aged very well.
It's like if you like open the wine and you're like, I don't like. It's okay. I don't like it. But then like you open that same bottle of wine 3 years later, you're like, oh. Do you have any more? Oh, no.
I was more thinking like when you try to eat something sober and you're like, this is disgusting. And then you go back when you're drunk and you're like, this is delicious.
Nice. That's a much better analogy.
So it states if an effect would create 1 or more tokens under your control, you double the many tokens instead. This is a targeted removal for sure. People are going to want to get rid of this. But I need ways to... Tuck talked about I didn't have enough token producers. I think making 27 individual tokens is a lot, but it does make it to now, instead of Prava being 4 mana to make a 1/1 that maybe saves my Eldrazi Monument, now it's 4 mana to make 2 1/1s. Yep. That's not nearly as bad as a return. It's kind of like when you guys hear me say, I'll never pay 4 mana to draw a card or 2 cards, but 4 mana for 3 or 4 cards? okay, now we're getting more to a 1-to-1 ratio, and this just helps you get closer to that with your tokens. Yes, it would be even better if I had Smothering Tithe in the deck, didn't have an extra copy, not going to spend the money on Smothering Tithe for this deck because it's not worth it. It ain't worth it. But I do think Anointed Procession could be a card that I would pick up for this deck, because if it doesn't work here, I have other decks I can for sure put it in. And I could argue that with Tithe. It's just, I think Tithe will see reprints to come in the years.
Do you not have an Anointed Procession? You don't have a copy of it?
I'm sure I
in Geared or
in Geared I have one. There we go.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
I
was trying to think of white decks that made tokens, and I think that's the only one I got.
I think the problem, like, I agree it's great. It's a great choice. The problem is, like, as soon as you start putting in a card like this deck warps itself, right? Where you're like, oh, now I actually care about this. And you know, that's up to you for your decisions of how you want to play this. Great card. I can't believe it's $45. I couldn't believe it was $20 back when I saw it. So why not? Let's go to the moon.
All right, Tuck. We'll finish off this episode. What's your last cut and what's your last ad? Apparently the one you're excited for.
We get to do it again, guys.
Is it hot?
It's hot. All right, I'm gonna cut Golden Foundry. So 3 colorless.
Oh,
you only have 11 artifacts in the entire deck. You can get 3 golems out of it. It's terrible. So
I have 16 artifacts in the entire deck.
Okay, fair enough. So then you get 4 golems out of it at best. So gold. I appreciate those thumbs. Golden Foundry is 3 colorless. It's a spice, which I hate to cut. 3 colors for an artifact. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, you may put a charge counter on Golden Factory. Remove 3 charge counters from Golden Factory. Put a 3/3 colorless golem artifact creature token onto the battlefield. Like I said, you can, at max, at best, you can have 4 golems, maybe, right? But you missed out on the easiest slam dunk Planeswalker that is not only my girlfriend, but also the best one in this deck. Are you crazy? Elspeth Sun Champion. It was insane to me that was
Get
in
off
here.
your high
Never.
horse.
4 colorless and 2 white. Legendary Planeswalker. Elspeth, aka Big Tuck's girlfriend. +1. Create 3 1/1 white soldier creature tokens who will do Big Tuck's laundry. -3, destroy all creatures with power 4 or greater whose names are MrCombo. -7, you get an emblem with creatures you control, get +2, get flying. It just comes with 4 loyalty. $12. If you're running a token deck in white, it's so easy to pull this one in there, man. She comes into play. She can win the game for you. She's won it for you. She's won it for me. She's a beautiful lady. She doesn't have red hair. Now that's to be fair. And she doesn't have that kind of like smoldering intensity that Marquesa does. You know what I mean? Chandra, get out of here. I don't care. Liliana, also get out of here. Listen, I'm not some guy that goes to Neo in Chicago and then gets like beat up in a bathroom. Long story. I'm just saying, Elspeth Sun Champion, slam dunk in this deck. It does everything it wants.
So here's the thing, though. It poses a big risk.
What risk? The deck's too good?
The -3 could board wipe me. Because I can only do that at sorcery speed. Prava automatically gives that +1 buff on my turn, which the goal of the deck is to have Prava and Sakashima out there. So that's made all of my 1/1s into 3/3s. And that's assuming that I just have 1/1 tokens. I could have 2/2s, which I can make 2/2s. I can make 3/3 golems. I can make 3/4 gargoyles. I can make XX things. So
you can make gargoyles one time, by the way.
Elspeth Sun's Champion is a slam dunk in 1/1 token decks, but I think in anything to where your tokens are getting buffed consistently, not like, oh, if you get Beastmaster Ascension. I'm talking like the point of the deck is that my commander's on the battlefield. I don't know if I want to risk it for that business.
You are a maniac. You're telling me you're trying to undercut me in my favorite Magic card for your own magical Christmas land. It's bizarro, but
magical Christmas land. This whole episode we've talked about having both the commanders out.
So then you're still good because a 1/1 becomes a 3/3, and then Elspeth clears the board. You swing in for the win.
But I make so many not 1-1s.
I understand what you're saying, but like the gargoyle argument, not great, because you have one card that can make an
2/2
argument.
wizard, 4/4 zombie warrior, the XX horror, the XX shark, the 2/2 cat, 4/4 angel, 2/2 spirit, 3/3 golem, 10/10 Eldrazi, 2/1 cleric, 4/4 elemental, 8/8 kraken, 2/2 cat beast, 2/2 drake.
Look, next time I see you in person, first off, shoot me in the head. Second off, put this card in your deck and be happy about it.
It will never be as good of a pet card as Altar of the Brood. Well, thanks for making it until the end. And as promised, here's the details about the brand new giveaway from our sponsor, Level 1 Game Shop. We're actually be doing a Modern Horizons 2 bundle. Not going to lie, I may just say I'm the winner of this because I'm addicted to Modern Horizons 2. To enter, it's super simple. Just promote the content we put out, join our Patreon community, subscribe to our channel, and share all the posts that we do. You get an entry for all the interactions on social media, and being a part of our Patreon, you get additional entries, a whole slew of ways to do it. We will announce the winner on MTG Action 4 News July 7th and social media soon after. Giveaways are going to happen every month. It could be a sweet little bundle like this. It could be a pre-con like we did last month. It just depends on what Level 1 can hook us up with. But we would love for you to subscribe to our channel, especially on YouTube. Apparently having only 151 subs is a crime for the grade E content we put out. It's just right above Miralax. But you should do that. Podcasts, leave some positive feedbacks. And if you'd like to reach out to us and find more ways to enter into our contest, here's how you could do that. You can reach me at MrCombo number 5 on Twitter, all spelled out except for the 5. Big Tuck. I know it might be hard over the sound of roaring engines, but where could they get a hold of you while you reside in NASCAR County?
At Big Tuck Tweeting on Twitter. I actually did activate my Twitter app and have been active on there, quote unquote, this week.
Nice. You could reach out to our main account as well on CMD Tower at Twitter as well. We also have a website where the deck list will be posted, cmdtower.com/BNBE93. Basically, just type in Curse of Abrosity, McKinney Stampede, Dovescape, Tower.com. If you'd like to support the show as well as hook up our sponsor with the orders you're already doing, head over to level1gameshop.com. When you place an order in the order notes, just type out CMD Tower so they know that you came from the collective. Please support them, guys. Sealed product, singles, board games, playmats, card sleeves, dice, even stickers. It all is helpful. But hey, if you'd like to actually put some dollars in our pockets so we can continue to improve our content, head over to our Patreon, patreon.com/CMD Tower. We have 4 different pledge levels from just $1 a month, which gets you, into the Discord to chat with the collective. It gets you entered into deck therapy, which we do once a month. It gets you entered in to possibly pick the voices for Brews and Builds each week. And you get a shout out on Brews and Builds, which is even cooler. So all of that for literally $1 a month. But of course, for $5 a month, you get like a token, some RK Post tokens, just a whole slew of just stuff. And of course, we have a referral program. If you're a current patron and you refer someone to join the community, we'll send you some free swag. Just make sure they let us know who sent them when they sign up on Patreon. But, we understand that some people can't do a monthly commitment, but maybe you did see something on stream that was CMD Tower branded and you'd like to pick up something. Head over to our store, cmdtower.com/merch. We do sell high quality playmats, and we are going to do the thing like a lot of other people do. Once the design is gone, it's gone forever.
Oh.
So we're actually getting down to only about 30 playmats left out of the 100 that we started with a year ago. So, they're not going to be around for much longer, and it is our classic logo, and we probably will be posting in the community here on what you guys would like to see for the next playmat. But if you can't contribute from a financial perspective, but you still want to support us, just hit that subscribe, share the tweets, share the posts. The more people we infect, the closer we get to 10 life and we all lose. And of course, Pink Royal, we appreciate the music provided. And make sure you guys hit up at _Tcoats on Twitter. He is our video editor that does all the YouTube stuff, and he is constantly coming up with fresh and new ideas. We were just chatting today about one that I think would be hilarious, and let's just call it Space Ghost Coast to Coast.
Oh,
so Big Tuck, we're at the end of the episode. Sakashima and Prava's token family Did some of the madness make sense, or does it still seem like binder bullshit?
It definitely seems like BBS, if you will. But
Ooh,
yeah, I like that.
big black suckers.
Yes, for the players out there, I think it's weird. I think if you put Elspeth in here, this deck goes from like a 3 to a 7. No,
It doesn't.
I think that this is a deck where it's like MrCombo, for those who don't know him, he plays a lot of very streamlined decks, and then he has a handful of ones that are like, I'm just trying to have fun, like with Plane Chase or Kingdom or anything like that. So I think that this deck accomplishes that very well. I think that it poses a weird deck building challenge on you, where it's like, it's very clear how you can make this into a deck that's not that way, and that's kind of on you, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but it's been exciting to look at.
Yeah, I think to make the deck good, I need to figure out a way to swap power and toughness in white and blue, and or colorless, because I'm sure there's something out there. But if all of a sudden I can turn it from a +2 +8 with having them both out there to +8 +2,
right,
that completely changes the dynamic of this deck, and I think it makes it a lot better. Maybe some more enchantment-based evasion would be helpful as well. And maybe even some secret infect tech if I could even do it. But, I think for now, it is a deck that it's zero thinking. It's a lot like how my Brutaclad deck started, to where I really don't even care. I'm just here to do this weird meme. And I think the fact that I didn't build a deck with Sakashima and then Prava's there as well. It's really, I built the deck with Prava, and it's like Sakashima is just another Prava.
Sure.
So it is definitely, I don't think there's many mono white Prava decks out there. And if you guys ever see me at an event, this will probably be the only Azorius Prava Sakashima deck you will ever see. So with that being said, I'm going to make a copy of myself and say.